Hey gang, Reine here. Today we are going to cover Access Chapter 3. And I just want to remind you that Microsoft Access 2013 projects and paths for Chapters 1 through 3 are available in SAM under Always Available Assignments. Number 2, classes on April 23rd, April 28th, April 30th, and May 5th are going to be for makeup work on missing assignments, and they're also a chance for you to raise your score on any projects that you may have already completed. Number 3, no assignments will be accepted after 11:59 p.m. on May 5th, and make sure you get all your work in because no incompletes will be given for this class. So let's jump into Access Chapter 3. Okay, so here we have our Access database open for Chapter 3. And the first thing that we want to do is to open the Relationships window and add the Reservations table to the Relationships window. So first we are going to come up to the ribbon. We're going to click on Database Tools. And we're going to go to the Relationships group, and we're going to click on Relationships, and this opens up all of the tables in the database and shows us the relationships that are there. So the next thing we want to do is we want to add the Reservations table to the Relationships window. So all I did is I went over to All Access Objects, I clicked on Reservations table, and I just dragged it over, as you can see right there. So there we have the reservations table. Now we want to create a one-to-many relationship between the trip ID field in the trips table and the trip ID field in the reservations table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the trip ID in the trips table, and I'm going to just drag it over to the reservations table. And you can see now I get an edit relationship dialog box that pops up. What we are going to do here is we are going to make this a one-to-many relationship. So let's see here. Come down here and we see that it is a one-to-many relationship, so that's good. Shows the relationship type right here is one-to-many, which is exactly what we want. And now we're going to make the relationship enforce referential integrity. So we're going to click here on enforce referential integrity and cascade update related fields. So we want to cascade update related fields, and we are not going to make this cascade deleted related records. Okay, so again, we're editing the relationship, we're making sure that it's one-to-many, we're enforcing referential integrity, and we are cascading update related fields. Okay, so and all we have to do then is click on create, and you see that the relationship was created. And now I'm going to just come up here to the tab, the relationships tab, and I'm going to save that relationship. All right, so now for number 2, with the relationship window still open, we're going to modify the relationship between the guides table. So here's the guides table and the trips table. So we see this relationship between the guides table and the trips table. We want to modify that to enforce referential integrity and cascade update related fields. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to come down on this relationship line, the line that represents a relationship. I'm going to right click with my mouse and I'm going to select edit relationships. Okay, and we said we want to go ahead and enforce referential integrity, and we want to cascade update related fields. So I select those two boxes, and I'm going to click on OK. And you can see now the line is darker, indicating that it was updated. And again, I'm going to save the relationship. So I'm coming up to the relationship tab. I'm clicking on save, and now I want to close this window. All right, that was number. So now for number 3, I want to open the trips table in design view and use the lookup wizard to change the season field to a lookup field. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over here to all access objects. We are going to move down and we are going to select the trips table, and I'm going to right click to open it up, and I want to open it up in design view. Okay, so now we have the trips table open in design view after right clicking. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come down and we're going to click on the data type for the season, and we're going to click on the triangle, and we're going to come all the way down to the lookup wizard. Alright, and now what we are going to do with the lookup wizard dialog box open is we are going to choose to type in the values that we want. So we're going to click on the second choice. We are going to click next, and we are going to leave the number of columns as 1 because we only need 1 column, and we're going to put the insertion point down here so we can enter the first item or the first value in our list. So the first value is early spring, and make sure you type it correctly, early spring, and then I'm just going to tab down or arrow down to the next and put another entry in, and that's going to be late spring. And again, I'm going to arrow down after I type in late spring, and I'm going to type in summer, and I'm going to arrow down, and I'm going to type in early fall. Again, arrow down, and late fall. And those are the only values that we want to see in our lookup field. So we're going to click next. And as far as the label goes, we're going to leave the label as it is. We're not going to change the label. And let's see, we want to limit the field values to only the items on the list. So right here we're going to check to limit only to the items that are on the list, and we do not want to allow multiple values. Okay, so then we're going to click on finish. And let's see here, let me just do that one more time. And I'm going to type in early spring. Late spring. Summer. Early fall. And late fall. Okay, and I'm going to limit this to the list. And the label for the lookup field is season. And again, we click enter. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to save, and we are good to go. And if you want to just confirm and make sure that the lookup was saved correctly, you can come down to field properties, click on the lookup tab, and you see right here that for the row source we have early spring, late spring, summer, early fall, and late fall. So that indicates to me that everything was good. And if we come down here and look at limit to list, it says yes, and allowing multiple values is no. So again, everything looks good there. And I'm just going to come up, and again, I like to save a lot. And now I'm going to go ahead and close that. And I'm going to move on to question number 4. And for question number 4, what we are going to do is we're going to open the guides table in design view and delete the current address field. So I'm just going to come up here under all access object. I'm going to right click on guides. I'm going to come down and open it in design view. And there we have it. And I'm going to delete the current address field. So I'm just coming down to current address, and I'm going to right click on that particular row, and I'm going to choose to delete the row. And it's asking me if I want to permanently delete the selected field and the data in the fields, and I'm going to say yes. And you can see the current address field disappears. I'm going to come up to the guides tab. I'm going to save it. And I'm now going to move on to number 5. And for number 5, what we are going to do with this guide table still open is we're going to add a new field named specialty, and we're going to add it right after year's experience. After we do that, we'll use the lookup wizard to type in 3 values in the lookup wizard, and we'll go from there. So first thing we need to do is we just need to come down and select the insertion point after year's experience, and we are going to add this new field specialty. Okay. And next we are going to use the lookup wizard. So after I type that in, specialty, then I come over to the data type, and I'm going to use the lookup wizard. And with the lookup wizard, I want to type in the following 3 values, and they are going to be hiking, biking, and paddling. So again, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to type the values that I want. Click next, and as I mentioned, those values are going to be hiking, H-I-K-I-N-G, arrow down, biking, B-I-K-I-N-G, and paddling, P-A-D-D-L-I-N-G. Those are the values that I want, and I'm going to click next. I'm going to keep the label as specialty, and I'm going to allow multiple values for the field. So this time, last time we did limit to the list. This time we want to allow multiple values. Okay. And we are going to save the changes to the table and close it. So first I'm going to click finish. And again, if we come down to the lookup tab, we can click, and for the source we see hiking, biking, and paddling. So that looks good. Again, I'm going to come up to the tab for the table. I'm going to save it, and I am going to close it so we can move on to question number 6. And for question number 6, we are going to open the reservations table in design view. So again, I come down to reservations, I right click, I'm going to open it up in design view. Okay, and we're going to make the following changes. First, we are going to change the trip ID field to a required field. So trip ID, we are going to come down here. Let's see here. We're going to come to properties. Actually, hold on one second. Actually, we didn't have to open that up there. So again, with the insertion point under trip ID, we're going to change it to a required field. So all we're going to do is come down here to field properties, and we're going to move down to required. We are going to click where it says no, move over to the triangle, and we are just going to change it to yes. And let's see, required field, change that to yes. And now The trip ID is a required field. Now we want to change the field size property for the state field to 2. So let's come back up here to the table and we're going to click on the state field. Now we're going to come down to the properties and we see the field size here. It's set to 255. We're actually just going to put the insertion point right into field size and we are going to change it to 2 and click enter. Okay, now we want to change on 2C, we want to change the data type of the trip cost field to currency and decimal places to 0. So again, we're coming up to the, which one did I say? Trip cost field. So we're putting the insertion point on trip cost and we are coming down to, so we've got the insertion point on trip cost. We're moving over to data type and we are changing the data type to currency. And then we are going to come down to the field properties. We're going to move over and place our insertion point right after decimal places where it says auto. And we're going to come over and we're going to click on the triangle and we're going to change it from auto to, did I say 2 decimal places? No, we want 0. So we're going to change that to 0 and again hit enter. That was 2C. I'm sorry, that was C. Now D, under number 6, we're going to change the default value of the deposit field to 100. So again, we want to come up to the table, click on the deposit field, and we're going to change the default value to 100. So on the field properties, I'm coming down to default value and I'm just going to backspace and type in 100 and you can see the default value was changed to 100 and that's on the reservations table. Now what we want to do is we want to save the changes to the table. So I'm coming up to the tab for the reservations table. I'm clicking save and I'm getting a warning because of some of the changes that we made to field size. We might actually lose some data. Remember when we changed the state from 255 down to 2? We could lose some data if someone had typed in the entire name rather than just using the shortcut. So what we're going to do, or abbreviation, so we are going to click yes, that's okay, and we're going to click yes again, and everything has been updated. And now we are going to go ahead and close the reservation table. So we made all of the changes we needed to the reservation table, and now we are moving to number 7. And actually for number 7, we are going to open the reservations table back up in datasheet view. So I am going to just go ahead, right click on reservations, click open, and now I'm in the datasheet view and I want to add the total row to the table, and that row should be the sum of all the values in the deposit field. Okay, so with the reservations table open, what I am going to do is I am just going to come up here to the ribbon and under table tools and the records group I am going to click on totals because I want to add totals to this table. So I click and you see all of a sudden we have a new row at the bottom of the screen that is called totals. So these totals are going to add the values in the deposit field. Okay, so we want to scroll across over to the deposit field. And let's see here. And now I'm going to come down and I'm just going to click on the total row in the deposit field. And for question number 7, the total row should sum the values. So again, I click on the triangle to select. I'm going to select the sum, and it's going to add up everything that's in the total column. I'm sorry, everything. It's going to total everything in the deposit column. So again, I click on sum, and there you see we have our sum right down at the bottom. We are going to come up, right click on the tab for the reservation table. We are going to save it, and I'm going to right click again to close it. And now we're going to move on to number 8. And for number 8, let's see here what we are going to do. Okay, so for number 8, what we want to do is we want to create an update query to update the value of the waiver received field in the reservations table. So let's see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to highlight the reservations table, and I'm going to come up to create on the ribbon, and I'm going to come into, I'm going to select query design in the queries group. Okay, and we said we want this query to query the waiver received field on the reservations table. So I'm selecting the reservations table, and all I did is double click on the reservations table, and I am coming down, let's see here, tables. I'm going to close that, and I'm going to select waiver received, and now I'm going to come down, and on the for the field I'm going to select the waiver received field on the reservations table, and I want the criteria to be no. So I'm coming down to criteria, and I'm just typing in no. Alright, and I clicked enter. Now I'm coming back up to the ribbon. I am going to run the query, and that's it. We're going to save it. Query, save. And I'm going to save it as waiver update query. Waiver update ERY. Okay. I'm going to save it again, and then I am going to close it. Alright, so now on number 9, we are going to open the guides table in datasheet view and change the font of the table to Arial narrow, and we're going to change the font size to 12 point. So again, we are going to go to the guides table. So over here in all access objects, I'm going to right click on the guides table, and I am going to open it up in datasheet view, which is the default. Open. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to come up to the upper left hand corner and click on the datasheet selector. So that's right up in the upper right hand corner, and you see it selects the entire table. And now up on the ribbon we still have home open. We're going to go to the text formatting group, and we're going to move up and select the font that we want, which is Arial narrow. So I'm going to click on the font selector, and I'm going to come down to, if I can find it, where is Arial narrow? I have to scroll down a little bit to get to Arial narrow. And then I'm going to move over and I am going to change the font size to 12 points. So now we have Arial narrow font, 12 points. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click on the table and I'm going to save, so those changes are saved. And now I'm going to move on to number 10, which says with the guides table still open in datasheet view, apply filter by selection to locate all records where the state field is equal to MA. Okay, so what we're going to do next is, okay, so in order to do this, what we want to do is we're going to come up and put the insertion point right here in the state. And now we're going back up to the table tools and we are going to choose selection. It's under the sort and filter group. We're going to choose selection. And since we put the insertion point into a record and a field where that contains MA, what it's doing is asking us if that's what we want to use for our sort criteria. So we want to say yes, we want all of the records that equal MA for Massachusetts. So I'm just going to click on that, and you can see now it gives us the 3 records that contain the state of Massachusetts. Okay, now what we want to do is update the address field for Devin Harlier's record. Okay, so I'm going to come down here to Devin Harlier. It's the second one. And we're going to change his address to 25 Old Farms Road. So moving over here, typing in 25 Old Farms and then RD for road, period. And then we're also going to update the specialty field value to include hiking and paddling. So coming over here, specialty, we want to select hiking and paddling and click OK. And at that point, we want to clear all the filters that are applied to the table. And to do that, we are going to move back to the ribbon, Table Tools, the group, Sort and Filter. This time we're going to come up and click on Advanced, and we are going to clear all filters. And you see now we're back to the point where we started. And again, I'm going to save my work because I don't want it to get messed up when I submit it. So I'm going up to the Guides tab, right click, Save, and I've saved my work. And now what we are going to do is move on to number 11. And for number 11, we are going to look for the record for Eric Rogers, and we're going to delete Eric Rogers from this database. So I'm scrolling down right here, almost in the middle, and I see Eric Rogers, and I'm selecting the entire row. I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete the record, and it's giving me a warning, and I'm going to click yes, delete that record, and we have now completed number 11. And again, I'm going to come up, I'm going to right click on the tab, and I am going to save. Alright, now number 12, we're going to open the sub data sheet for Abraham Miller, and in the sub data sheet we're going to update the Long Pond record by changing the season field value to summer, and then we're going to save and close. So to do that, first we want to come up here to Abraham Miller, and we are going to click on the, so if we select the row for Abraham Miller, which is right at the top, we're going to move over to this little plus sign, and by clicking on the plus sign we can open up the sub data, and it shows us data that's connected to Abraham Miller. And what we want to do now is we want to update the Long Pond record. And we want to change the season field value to summer. So the Long Pond is right here. And I'm going to scroll across the top. So again, for the trip name Long Pond, I'm scrolling across to the season, and I'm changing it from early spring till summer. And that is number 12. So again, what I want to do is I want to come up here and save. And now I'm going to just come back and shrink this thing down. So you can see when it was open, I have a minus sign up in the upper left-hand corner right next to the guide ID. I'm going to click on that minus sign, and I'm going to save it again. Now let's move on to number 13. For number 13, we're going to open the trips table in datasheet view, so we can go ahead and close the guides. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to right click on trips, and I'm going to open it up in datasheet view, which is just open. And we're going to apply a filter by form to find all records where the state field is equal to NH, which is New Hampshire. And then we're going to also do the distance field, make it equal to 10. So to do that, we're going to come back up to the sort and filter group, and we are going to click on advanced. We're going to select filter by form. Okay, and now what we want to do is we want to move over and select state and change it to NH for New Hampshire. And then we want to move over to the distance field and select only records where the distance is equal to 10. So I'm coming over to distance and I'm selecting 10. Okay, so what we are going to do next is we're going to apply this new filter, and we're going to come back up to the sort and filter group on the ribbon, and we're going to click on toggle filter. And you can see now it's given us the result for state of New Hampshire, distance equal to 10 miles. It gives us one record. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to come over and we want to change the maximum group size to 18. And after we change that to 18, we want to toggle and filter again. So coming back up to toggle and filter, and let's see here. I think we might have made a mistake there. So toggle and filter, maximum group size 18. Click the toggle and filter, and that's going to remove the filter. Let's see. Okay. And after we change that maximum group size to 8, yeah, that's right. Actually, because what we're doing here is we are updating this particular field on this particular record to 18. And when we click the toggle and filter button again, what we're doing is we are now removing the filter. So we used the filter to find that record. We updated the record. Now we are removing the filter. We are going to right click on trips so that we save it. And after we save it, we want to go ahead and close the table. So now the table is closed, and we are going to move on to number 14, which is creating a split form based on the trips table. And then we're going to save the form. Okay, now let's keep going. So now what we want to do is we want to create a split form based on the trips table, and we want to save the form. So to do that, first we are going to come back up to the ribbon. We are going to click on create, we're going to go to the Forms group, and this time we are going to click on More Forms. And under More Forms, we are going to come down and we are going to select Split Form. And you can see after we click on that, we now have the form with the first record from the table populated. Okay, so we want to save the form as trips split form and close it. So we're going to come up and we are going to click on save, and we're going to call it trips split form. Click OK, and now the trips split form has been saved. And we're going to move on to number 15. Actually, I'm going to close that. And on number 15, we're going to open the reservations master entry form. So I'm coming down to Forms on the All Access Objects. I'm right-clicking on Reservation Master Entry Form, and I want to open this up in Form View. So I'm going to go ahead and open. We are in Form View, and we're going to navigate all the way to the last record, and we're going to change the contact first field. So to go to the last record, I'm coming all the way down here to the bottom, and I'm hovering over the triangle that says last record, and I'm clicking on that to jump to the last record, which gives me Rebecca. And we're going to change the first contact field value from Rebecca to Becca. So B-E-C-C-A. And again, I'm going to save. And now I'm going to navigate to the previous record in the form. And we're going to change the deposit field to $48. So we're on record number 20, which is the last one. Now I'm going to record number 19, and my field reservation ID right here is 160019. That's how I know I'm on the correct record. And I am going to move over to trip cost, and I'm going to get rid of the 0 and the 2 decimals, and I'm just going to actually not going to do that. My mistake. I'm coming down and changing the deposit value to 480. And again, I'm going to click save, and that was number 16. And now I'm going to number 17, and I'm going to use the reservation master entry form to add a new record to the reservations table using the values that are shown in figure 1. Okay, so with that said, so to do that, I'm coming back down here to the navigation bar on the bottom. I'm hovering over new blank record, and I am clicking on it. And now I need to make sure I have the information shown in figure 1. So for that, the reservation ID is 160021. Trip ID is NFNHP1. The name is Brianne, B-R-I-A-N-N-E. Contact last is Brown, so that's her last name. Address is 154 Central Street, or ST with a period. The city is Vernon, V-E-R-N-O-N. The state is Connecticut, so CT. Postal code is 06066. Phone number is 860-555-3225. 34. Trip date is 6-11-2016 or 2016. Group size is 10. Waiver received is no. Trip cost is $938. And the deposit is $200. Okay, and I'm just going to come back up and save, and now we have that information added, and I believe that we have completed the exercise. Let's just double check and make sure. And that's it. So now what we want to do, again, make sure that you save this, and we are going to go ahead. You should have 21 records, and come up and save your database and go ahead and upload it, and you should be good to go. Thanks, everyone.